Let's go now to our guest, Xavier Abu Eid. Again, he is former advisor to the Palestinian Liberation Organization, PLO, and joins us live from Amman. So I just want to ask you, Xavier, about this exchange. Of course, we're seeing the handover of hostages seems to be continuing to progress smoothly. But how is this release of Israeli hostages, how does it differ to the release of the Palestinian prisoners? This morning we've seen changes in terms of the names who will be released. And of course, many of those prisoners will go back to, they will have no families to go back to. I mean, what kind of differences have we seen this morning in those two groups of people that are being released?
Thank you, Isabel. I think it's a very important question. I would say overall, the main difference is that once Israeli captives go back home, this will be a chapter that will be closed for Israeli society. As for once Palestinian detainees and prisoners go back home, if they still have a home, they'll still have to deal with the challenges of reconstruction and ending the occupation and everything that Israeli occupation imposes. Now, if we're going to talk about this thing technically, an important point is that Israeli occupation forces have been very clear to Palestinian families in the occupied West Bank that they are not allowed to celebrate. Some even have said that they were not allowed even to talk to international media. At the same time, that some of the relatives of people that will be exiled from Palestine, there is an important number of people that will not be allowed to stay in the country. There are 20 families that this morning were prevented by Israeli occupation forces from leaving the occupied West Bank in order to meet their relatives in Egypt. So there are significant differences that show, once again, that here there is an occupying power and a people under occupation.
Xavier, that this will continue to unfold in a way that is fair to the Palestinians, given we've seen just so much. It's sort of been the whole goal here is to end the war in Gaza and to bring peace to Gaza. But it's kind of been overshadowed this morning by that fanfare that we've seen from Donald Trump taking the credit here. But how important is it to return to the purpose and the real goal, which seems to be from both sides, is to reach peace, but also come to a situation that is fair for both Palestinians who have suffered for the last 2 years and for Israel?
With all due respect, Isabel, I don't think that Israel or the Israeli government wants to achieve a political deal. And I think your correspondent in occupied Jerusalem was actually being very clear with this, saying that Israel has been refusing to have a diplomatic solution. Why? Because if we're going to talk about a political solution, we need to tackle issues that for Israel now are red line, including ending the Israeli occupation that in the occupied West Bank as well as in Gaza. So in other words, the maximum that the Israeli government would be willing to go through with all this international pressure, including the pressure of President Donald Trump, is to achieve an exchange of captives and detainees and to have a military withdrawal, but not to end the overall Israeli control over the Palestinian people, not to continue to prevent the exercise of the Palestinian right to self-determination. And I think this is a very important point and critical point to understand how we can move to the future. The 20 points plan of President Trump, they do not present any guarantees for Palestinians to move ahead. And let's remember that in October 2023, when Prime Minister Netanyahu presented his plan or his war plan, he spoke first about 5 fronts and then 7 fronts. But in both plans, he included the West Bank as a front, which remains open. So what we have here, it's an end of the genocide in Gaza if things continue like they are now, but it's not an end to the overall aggression against the Palestinian people.
Okay, Xavier, so in your view, this is something that Israel's looking to bring the hostages back, but the intention is not there to have a lasting peace and to have a two-state solution. Is that right?
Certainly. I mean, if you talk to any Israeli diplomat and you ask an Israeli diplomat or any Israeli official if they believe in a two-state solution, they cannot say that they support a two-state solution. It's against Israeli, not just government policy, it's against Israeli law. Let's remember that only a few months ago, there was a vote in the Israeli parliament that was against the recognition of the state of Palestine, another vote that was in support of annexation of the occupied West Bank. And in both cases, The only bloc in the Israeli parliament that voted against those motions was actually the Palestinian members of the Israeli Knesset, the members of the Palestinian Israeli citizens that are a minority of 20% within the state of Israel. So Israel clearly does not believe in a two-state solution. They don't believe on equality based on a one-state solution. And therefore, when we are looking forward, we have to understand what are the policy options that are left for Israel is eventually to set or to consolidate the idea of one state and two different systems that is also called under international law as apartheid. So Israel, what we are facing today is not a change to the overall Israeli policies. It's not a change to the Israeli positions. It's an exchange of captives and detainees, and it's the possibility of ending the Israeli genocide in Gaza. But to achieve a political solution, I don't think the Israeli government is there. And I also don't think that the Trump administration is there to do what's needed, which is to have a clear roadmap to end the Israeli occupation.
And it looks that Donald Trump is soon to begin that speech, Javier, at the Knesset. What do you expect from that speech? Do you think there will be anything there that will be surprising in terms of your view that there isn't that intention from the US and Israel to bring about Palestinian statehood at the end of all of this?
I think once again, President Trump wants to present himself as someone who can actually make peace happen. But I don't know what's the concept of peace that President Trump has. But I think there's something very interesting. I mean, from one side, we cannot know what President Trump is going to say because he's not someone who has a policy. Maybe he's going to hear something before his address and he's going to repeat it. Maybe he's going to talk about the rights of the Palestinian people. I don't know. But at the same time, it's important to understand that so far the U.S. administration has not presented a clear policy vis-a-vis this region. But also, let's remember that from the countries invited to the Sharm el-Sheikh conference, there are several that went through process of mediation that included the Trump administration, including, for example, the case of Armenia and Azerbaijan. So, in other words, I think President Trump may repeat a lot the word peace. He will certainly talk about the need to have efforts, and he will thank Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for going along with him. But the policy aspect of the speech is something that is totally uncertain.
Xavier Abu Eid, former advisor for the Palestinian Liberation Organization, thank you so much.